You are listening to the Becoming the Wealthy You podcast with Jermaine Foley. If you're a woman who makes good money in your career or business, but you're not building wealth like you want to, then you're in the right place. In this podcast, you'll learn how to stop overspending, break free from the cycle of debt, save lots of cash, and become the wealthy woman you were born to be. Let's dive in. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Listen, today's episode is for you if you ever found yourself asking this question. Why do I keep overspending even though I know better? If that question sounds familiar, if it's something that you ask on repeat, I want you to know that you are not alone and you are going to get a lot out of this episode today. Because so many of us walk around believing that we lack discipline, that we're just not good with money, or that something is wrong with us if we find ourselves struggling to not overspend, if we find ourselves struggling with impulse spending, or if we find ourselves struggling with emotional spending. But here's what I really want you to understand. If that is you, you are not bad with money. You're not just a spender, and you're definitely not broken. There is nothing wrong with you. You probably just haven't really had an opportunity to understand why you spend the way you do. And once you understand the deeper reasons behind your spending, you can actually start to change it. Because as human beings, we are never, ever stuck. We are designed to change, to grow, and to evolve. There's a scientific term for this, and that is called, and I might butcher it, but I'm going to give it a shot. It is called neuroplasticity, which means our brains can literally change. That means we can rewire our habits, we can change how we think, we can change how we act, and we can choose differently. You do not have to keep living the same financial life over and over and over again. You just have to be willing to really look underneath the hood to see what's actually going on and then practice new things by taking one step at a time. And this is exactly the kind of work that I do with my clients in my brand new fully private coaching program, Own Your Wealth. We get to the root causes of why you overspend. Because here's the thing, most of my clients, all of my clients, they make good money. And let me define what that is because it's subjective. My definition of making good money is you make six figures or very close to it, or of course you're making more than that, like multiple six figures. And if that is you, if you're doing that in your business or in your career or a combination of the two, to me, you make good money, right? You're a high earner. But the one thing that really prevents a lot of high earning women from building wealth is overspending. It's like the money is coming in, but you have a hole in your pocket. And so the money comes in and it just slips right back out. And it seems like it's against your will. It seems like it's out of your control because like there's these things that are happening outside of you. What it feels like is that it's something else controlling you and you just don't have discipline, you have no self-control, and you just can't break free from it. But again, none of that is true. You are a human with a human brain and you can grow, you can change, you can learn skills, you can break habits and create new ones. And this is the work I do with my clients because once you can really get control of your spending, then you free up so much money to be able to enjoy life more, to get out of the cycle of credit card debt, to save $20,000, $30,000 in a life happens fund or an emergency fund. And then you're really set up to just blow out your investments. You can really up level and accelerate your investments. And that is where the real wealth is made. And just imagine if that was your life, if you spent intentionally on things that actually mattered to you and you no longer have the desire to just spend money frivolously on things that did not matter to you. What if you had that much power and control over your actions, which you can get? That is not outside of you. That is not something that is too far-fetched. You can do this. But then from there, you pay off debt and you stay out of debt. You don't find yourself wandering back in. And then you're stacking savings and cash in a high yield savings account where you're earning interest on your $20,000 or $30,000 that you have there just for your security, to put a cushion between you and life, because life will happen and you are now financially prepared for it. And then because you're no longer overspending and because you're not paying a ton of money every month to credit card companies and because you've already set aside savings, so you're not really needing to do that every month like you used to, you now have all this cash to enjoy your life and to beef up your investments and really build wealth and really just change your life. All of that is possible for you. I want you to know that. And I will be more than happy to help you to achieve it. If that is something you're looking for, you're invited to book a financial clarity consultation with me, where we will look at all of those areas of money I just mentioned, and we will look at where you are, where you want to go, and how you can get there. You, not a generic cookie cutter process, but actually you based on your real life, what matters to you. And if that's something you want to do, all you have to do is go to jermainefoley.com/consult. That's Jermaine with a G, Foley.com/consult. I would love to meet you, and I would love to help you to really map out a plan for how you can get there. And then if it's a great fit, I'll tell you how I can help you in my brand new private one-to-one coaching program, Own Your Wealth, where it's just you, me, and your money, and we're working to get you wherever you want to go. Wherever your financial goals are, that's what we're working at. We're working to change your patterns, your habits, and your behaviors so that you can get to where you want to go. All right. Now, with that, I want you to understand this. If overspending is something that you really are struggling with, in my workings with clients, usually there's 3 reasons why. And I'm going to break those 3 reasons down for you now. And I call them the 3 C's of overspending. So let's get to it. The first C is what I call conditioning. This is when you spend out of habit, not intention. It's automatic. It almost feels like it's happening outside of you, like it's against your will, like you're just automatically doing it and you don't even realize you're doing it until it's done. It's an unconscious kind of spending that just happens, usually when you're not fully paying attention. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have a long day at work, you come home, you're tired, and your routine is to just plop down on the couch, turn on the TV, and start scrolling on your phone. And then maybe you find yourself on Amazon or the Nordstrom app or whatever your favorite store is or your favorite boutique is. And boom, before you know it, you've bought 2 or 3 things and you didn't even realize you were doing it until after the fact. Does that sound familiar? Can you relate to that? If you can, then you might be overspending due to the first C of conditioning, because that's what conditioning is. It's just a habit. It's just something that you do because you do it. And it's etched in your brain. And so that's what you do. You come home, you sit on the couch, you turn on the TV, and you start scrolling and you buy stuff if you see something that you like. Here's one that I found out about myself recently. It's been a little while now. I would say a couple of years. Before every single vacation or any time I had to travel out of town, I used to literally go shopping and buy almost a whole new wardrobe just for that trip. So if I was going on a tropical vacation, I would have new cover-ups, new swimsuits, new sundresses, all the things, even though I had all the things in my closet that I needed to go on that trip that I barely wear because I only use those things when I actually go on vacation. So those would just sit and then I would buy something new. It was just like this internal default setting. If I knew I had a vacation, that meant I needed to go shopping. We all have these kinds of behaviors that are just conditioned. They're like etched in our brains. And they could come from our environment. Maybe you witnessed someone in your household growing up doing that. I remember whenever we used to go out of town, we used to go shopping. And maybe that's where it came from, because we would go and get new gym shoes or new flip-flops. It wasn't huge. We didn't, get whole new wardrobes, but I do remember that before every family vacation, we would go and get something new. And maybe, just maybe, that's where I learned it. And whatever your habits are, whatever your conditions are, you've picked it up somewhere as well. So it's not that you're just undisciplined or bad with money. No, you learn this along the way, and you can also unlearn it. And when you can really grab onto that truth, then you can stop beating yourself up. You can stop telling yourself that you're just bad with money and that you have no discipline and then you lack self-control. Because when you talk to yourself like that, when you're constantly berating yourself and beating yourself up like that, you don't even know you're doing it, but you're doing it. You are using all that energy, all that good energy to beat yourself up versus to change your life. We all have a finite amount of energy. And it takes energy to beat yourself up, to criticize yourself, to always put yourself down. You could be using that same energy to build yourself up, to say, you know what? Maybe I can change. Let me try this. Let me sign up for a consultation with Jermaine. Like, you can use that same energy for your good instead of beating yourself up, because you cannot do both at the same time. You cannot beat yourself up or tear yourself down while you're building yourself up. You just can't do both. I've got something for you. If you make good money, but overspending is keeping you stuck in the cycle of credit card debt with little to no savings, you're invited to book a financial clarity consultation with me, yours truly. This is for you if you're ready for real support, not just more free advice that can be found on Google or quick fixes that never really solve the problem. Let's be honest, you know what you should be doing, but you're not doing it. Not because you're undisciplined or bad with money, but because of patterns you were never taught to undo. But that's where I come in. A financial clarity consultation is a private session where we'll look at where you are, where you want to go, and what's standing in the way. And if we both agree that working together is the best next step, I'll tell you how we can move forward inside of my coaching program, the Wealthy Woman's Academy, which is private one-on-one coaching, just me, you, and your money. And if you're worried that getting your finances in order will mean giving up everything you love, don't. My philosophy is rooted in what I call the do both method. I believe you can build wealth and enjoy your life at the same time. That means yes, you can still vacation and say yes to things that matter. You'll leave this session with more clarity than you've had in a long time, plus real insight on what to do next to solve your money issues for good. If that sounds like what you've been needing, you're invited to go to jermainefoley.com/consult to book your session. That's Jermaine with a G, Foley.com/consult, or simply visit the show notes. Now let's jump back into the episode. So, if this is you, I want you to know that you can unlearn whatever habits you have. And the key to it is just awareness. Start to think about, when do I shop? Is there a trigger? Is there a time of day? Is there something going on in my life that makes me go and buy something? One of the things I used to do all the time, was I would buy things in bed after a long day. So instead of being on the couch, it would be in my bed. Once I figured that trigger out, I came up with a protocol for myself that I no longer buy or online shop while I'm in bed. I have to be out of the bed. I just can't do it while I'm in bed. And I also put in a 24-hour to 48-hour sleep on it rule. I've done so many things, but only because I was able to become aware of what my conditioned habits were. And so for you, think about what yours are. One of my clients, she would wake up in the middle of the night and she would just pick up her phone and start scrolling. And then that's when she bought. But now she knows that, okay, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm not picking up my phone. I'm actually going to, maybe turn on the TV and watch a boring movie that I always fall asleep to. Something like that. You just have to be intentional, but you can't be intentional until you shine a light on what's actually happening and get awareness around what are your conditioned habits. Okay, so the second C is comfort. Okay, this is when you spend to soothe yourself. You're not shopping because you need something. You're shopping because you're feeling something, usually a negative, uncomfortable emotion. Maybe it's boredom, it could be stress, it could be sadness, frustration, and sometimes even excitement. Truthfully, I had a client who, whenever she was excited, she went shopping. And what's happening there is you're not trying to escape from a negative emotion. You're trying to enhance a positive emotion. So the excitement that was happening in her life wasn't enough. She needed to make it even more exciting by shopping. But for the purposes of comfort, we're not really going to talk about that. But I do want to mention that sometimes when you're experiencing a positive emotion, you can want to amplify that emotion and enhance it. And so you buy on top of whatever's happening that's going well for you. But for the purposes of this C, we're going to talk about the more so negative, uncomfortable emotions. And usually for my clients, it's boredom, stress, sadness, frustration. If they have a bad day at work, if there's nothing on their calendar and they just want to pass the time, they find themselves spending. Spending becomes a way for them to distract or numb the emotion. It could go something like this. I had a rough week. I deserve this. Or maybe you're feeling down. So let me, buy something to cheer myself up. Let me go into the mall to see what they have. Or sometimes it just happens, again, unintentionally. You just don't even know it happens, where you just find yourself wandering in a store because you just had time on your hands, right? It's a way for you to pass time. And then, of course, when you go in there, you end up buying something. But here's what I really want you to know. When you spend to escape your feelings, you never get rid of the root cause of what you're actually feeling or why you're feeling that way. For instance, if you're always bored, maybe your life needs more purpose or creativity. Sometimes when clients are always bored, that gives me the perfect opportunity to help them to explore why they're bored. And a lot of times it's because they're not doing something that they know they want to do due to fear. So they're bored. Or if they have a lot of time on their hands, they just want to fill that time. And there are ways to do that are more fulfilling and that won't rob you of your financial stability. So for instance, if you're always stressed, maybe it's time to look at your boundaries. Are you working too hard? Are you carrying too much? Are you taking on more problems that don't belong to you, right? Are you trying to be everything to everyone? If that's the case, money can easily become the Band-Aid. But the wound, whatever's going on, is still there. And so once that high of the buy wears off, you're still left with the boredom. You're still left with the stress, and you need to contend with it or shop over it. And if you're shopping over it, this is why you're not building wealth. This is why you find yourself stuck in the cycle of debt. This is why you're not saving like you want to. This is why you're not investing like you want to, because it is not your money's job to make you feel better. And you will never, ever, ever, ever become wealthy if you use your money to make yourself feel better. If you use your money to cope, to soothe yourself, then you will never, ever, 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 I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it again, ever build a wealth. You just can't, because as a human being, you are always going to have negative emotions in your life, and you need to learn how to cope with them outside of spending. You need to know how to regulate your emotions outside of spending. It is not your money's job to make you feel better. That is your job. That is an inside job. And this is the kind of work, again, that I help my clients with, because I am not only a money coach, but I'm a life coach. I have so many life coaching tools that I offer my clients to really help them to get to the root causes of why they're behaving the way they're behaving with money. Okay? So the next time you catch yourself wanting to treat yourself, pause and ask, what am I feeling right now? And what do I actually need to deal with instead of just going to buy something? What am I feeling? And what do I really need to deal with? Because spending, shopping, won't fix this. Whatever it is, I promise you, shopping will not fix it. Yes, you'll feel better temporarily, but then the problem, the emotion, whatever it is going to be waiting for you, staring in your face as soon as that high of the buy wears off. Okay, so now let's look at the third C, which is confusion. This one is deep, okay? This is when you spend to try to prove that you're enough. You're confused about your worth, so you try to signal it with your purchases. So you try to make yourself good enough by buying things, by boosting your status. Maybe it's a car, maybe it's a house in the right zip code, maybe it's a fancy bag or an outfit that looks great on Instagram, or a fancy trip so you can post on Instagram. But here's the truth. That is a void that money can never fill. If you don't feel like you're good enough, that is a lie. If you walk around thinking you're not worthy, you're not good enough, you're not adequate, you're not beautiful, you're not anything. Whenever you think badly about yourself, you're going against the real truth of yourself. And whenever you go against what really is true about you, it feels horrible. Okay? So the only reason why you feel bad is because you're believing a lie about yourself. You're believing that you're not worthy when the truth is you are 100% worthy. You're believing that you're not good enough when the truth is you are good enough. You are believing that you're inadequate when the truth is you are adequate, just the way you are. Hard stop. So when you come into alignment about who you really are, then the need to buy things to boost your status will literally go away. Yes, you will still buy things, but it will be from a different energy. It will be from an energy of, this is cool. It would be great to go on this trip. It would be great to have this experience. Oh, I'm interested. I would love to have that bag. But it's from this place of interest, not from this place of not enoughness. It's from a place of, that will be cool. That will be nice. That will be fun. Not like, oh, this will make me better. You can never, ever, ever feel an internal void with material things. Yes, again, you will feel better temporarily, but the high of the buy will go down. It will wear off, and then you're still left feeling unworthy, inadequate, and not good enough. And so literally, this one is easy. You just need to stop believing the lie because you did not create yourself. God created you. And so everything that God created was good, and he created you. So you're good. You're worthy. Every human being is worthy, no matter how bad they are, no matter what they do. Yeah, they'll have consequences for their actions, but the innateness of them is that they're worthy, that you're good enough. And there's no material thing that's too good for you. And there's no material thing that will make you better because you're already good. Like you're 100%. Nothing can be added to you. And when you really can believe that about yourself, then you stop spending from confusion. You start spending from interest. You start spending in a way that fuels your life, not depletes your wealth. Because when you spend from confusion, you usually are depleting your wealth. You're spending money you don't have. You're willing to go into debt. You're not saving so that you can boost your self-esteem, so that you can make yourself feel better. But once your self-esteem is intact, once you know who you are, then you won't spend to your detriment. You won't put yourself in financial harm because you don't need to anymore, because you know that you're amazing. You know that you're good enough, and you're going to spend in alignment with that. So once the money is there, once you've saved up for it, or once you know that it's not going to cause a financial consequence for you, then you go buy the thing. You don't spend to your detriment at that point. And listen, I get it. This one is sneaky. It's the kind of overspending that looks like ambition. It could look like success or taste, but deep down, it's about trying to validate yourself through stuff. So let this be a reminder. Again, I already said this, but I'm going to say it again. You're already good enough. You don't need to spend to prove anything to anyone. So with that, you have the 3 C's of overspending. Number 1 was conditioning, spending out of habit. Number 2 was comfort, spending to soothe your emotions or to cope with negative emotions. And then 3, confusion, spending to prove your worth. Listen, you might see yourself in one of these or all 3 of them. The point isn't to beat yourself up. Again, we don't do that. When we beat ourselves up, we then prevent ourselves from being able to change because we're using all of our energy for negativity, for criticism, when we could be using that energy to build ourselves up and to change. Okay, so the point isn't to shame yourself or to try to blame yourself. It is just to get an understanding of what's actually happening, because once you understand what's going on underneath the surface, like I said earlier, then you can change it. So again, this is exactly the kind of work I do with my clients inside of Own Your Wealth, my private one-to-one coaching program. If this is something you're interested in, know that we do not just sit around and talk about slashing expenses, becoming more frugal, and putting ourselves on a strict budget. That is not what we do. We unpack the beliefs, the habits, and the emotions that are running your financial life behind the scenes, because that is the real deal right there. That's the real stuff. That is what's keeping you stuck. So if you're ready to stop overspending without giving up everything you love and to start actually building wealth on your terms while still living a fun and joyful life, I would love to help you. All you have to do is go to jermainefoley.com/consult. Again, that's Jermaine with a G, foley.com/consult. You could click the link in the show notes or just go ahead and type it into your browser. Either way, I would love, love, love to meet you and to help you. All right, I will see you next week. Bye-bye. Wait, before you go, have you checked out my free class? It's all about the steps you need to take if you want to build wealth without going on a strict budget. To sign up, simply go to jermainfoley.com/wealth class. That's Jermaine with a G, foley.com/wealth class. See you in there.